Welcome back to the Last Week This Week podcast, episode 47. I'm Ian Scott.
And I'm his co-host, Zack Huber.
And this is the podcast where we discuss nerd topics from the last week and this week. And today we got a great review coming at you for the one and only Madam Webb.
This is our first movie review, 2024. So,
it is. You're right.
So hopefully we will have a bunch of these this year. Hopefully just as many as last year.
I think we will. We'll pick it up.
Yeah. And, on top of Madam Web, we got a bunch of cool topics. We're going to talk about a Mandalorian game, a cool trailer that came out of the Cannes Festival that I think, judging from the fact that you wanted to talk about it, you thought it was quite good, called Riddle of Fire. There's going to be
first-time director.
There's going to be there's going to be 4 Beatles biopics coming from the director of No Time. Well, not no. Yeah, no. Of the James Bond, Skyfall, and Spectre.
Yep.
And we're also going to talk about the Ballerina movie getting pushed back, and then lastly, the Jurassic World sequel getting its director with Mr. Gareth Edwards.
Yeah.
So all of those will have their own time codes that you can check out, but we're gonna start with the coveted, the infamous at this point, Madam Webb. And we talked about this before we started recording, that is there much of a point to even talking about this movie, because it is so widely known that it is a horribly bad, boring movie.
I do think it's somewhat important, because there are people who are not going to see this out of principle, and we are going to give them the specific reasons why it's not good. So,
and I went into the movie, I knew that a lot of people didn't like it, and I was not expecting to love it, but I tried to go into it with, no expectations. And if anything, the lowest expectations.
Well, here's my expectations. I saw the headline that was like, this is the perfect like sleepover movie, because it's like so stupid you could like have fun with your friends and like just have a good time. But it is not that movie. No. I don't think it's not. And I that was my expectation going in, that it was going to be a stupid, like bad, good time movie, but it was just a boring, really bad movie.
Because there was a group of like 5 friends in front of me when I watched it, and they were having a good time at the beginning, but very slowly it just got so quiet, and you could just see everybody just is like restless, and like I get restless. Like when we saw Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, I
had that exact feeling.
Oh my God, I want to get out of here. But, I will say there's times where it is the bad movie for sleepovers. There are moments.
There's moments. You're right. But it's not enough. It's
just
really not.
It's just boring.
To me, it's a lot of like small bad decisions that like add up throughout the movie that like just make this really bad. Like I mean, like the first glaring one was the first like jungle scene. I couldn't believe how bad the native people looked and how bad they ran through the trees. I mean,
but even before that, so you get Ezekiel Sims and then Cassandra Webb's mother, and I don't know if we know all the motivations of Ezekiel Sims wanting his spider in the first place.
It's just he came from rough times, and now he wants power. That's it.
Okay,
that's it.
Well, it wasn't very well explained, I will say.
No. I mean,
some of the worst ADR dubbing I have ever seen.
Oh my God! Right.
In my life. There's literal scenes in this movie, starting from the Amazon, where characters' mouths are not moving, or they're saying completely different words.
Yeah.
Which, sometimes is the case with ADR, but it was so glaringly obvious.
There's multiple scenes like that. The one I noticed the most was when he
flat.
Yeah, when he was at his desk talking to like his assistant, like there was multiple times where it did not match what he was like moving his mouth for, and I was like, "Oh man, dude!"
And I'm like, and the whole time, I'm like, could the actual take, because this is consistent with his character, there's not many scenes where you actually see him talk that's not ADR dubbed. It's
right.
like, I swear to God, there's probably more ADR dubbed than actually seeing him talk.
Yep.
And I'm like, it could not have been. I want to know why it had to be ADR dubbed so much, because it's like,
right.
Why the original take, could it really be that bad?
Right.
Or like, were they trying to change
I think
script?
It's just, there were so many rewrites. Like it had to have been that. I mean, because like and I think it's pretty obvious that they scrubbed the Spider-Man out of this movie. Like there is no reason for Ben Parker to be in this movie. It's just he could be anybody, genuinely.
Oh yeah.
Like,
and he can't even say May.
He can't say May. He didn't even say
Peter.
Yeah, they didn't say Peter, even though he was born on the night the movie happens. So yeah, it's a mess. I also hated the fact that like she was born in the Peruvian Amazon or whatever it was, and her mother dies there, but somehow the natives like take her back to the United States and like get her a birth certificate and like preserve all that shit that her mom had. And you're like, why wouldn't they just raise her? If that guy stayed there when she went back, and later in the movie and was like, I made a promise to your mom. Like, why would that promise not be like, I'm going to raise your daughter and like train her to use her powers?
Yeah. And I'd also be like, if I was Cassandra, I'd be like, so you put me in the foster system?
Right. Like what kind of horrible plan was this? Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, have we not seen enough movies about orphans and that being a really terrible thing? Like,
right.
But and even I know, like I'm just talking about the Amazon scene, but it was when they're arguing. I swear to God, Ian, every single time it would cut to each one of us, like Ezekiel and his mom, zoom in. It'd be like it would be Ezekiel, and then it would zoom in, and then it would zoom out, and then it would go to Cassandra, and it would zoom out, and then it would zoom in. And I'm like, what's with all the fucking zooms?
Yeah.
It's not making the scene more interesting. I will tell you that. Like, it's not.
It's not. It really isn't. But yeah, I mean, for me, I like the more glaring parts of this bad movie was the plot. I mean, like,
oh yeah,
I think like when you get to like she's a paramedic in New York, that's really where it gets like so boring.
The fucking ambulance like scene, like just when you meet them, and they're like, "Oh my God, I haven't been in a car this fast," and I'm like, this looks like the slowest like ambulance car chase scene I've ever. I was like, there is no momentum. That ambulance looks like it's going 20 miles per hour down the streets. Honestly,
yeah, like, it really did. Also, how did you love that line of her saying to Ben, "What, you've never been shot at in Queens?" That's a really good one, huh?
I didn't even pick it up. No.
Yeah, no, it was in that same scene where they're like, they introduce Ben to you and like, and he's like, "Oh, I've been shot at like once or something," and I don't know. I don't remember how it starts, but yeah, no, it was.
Oh, is that supposed to be like a reference to him
getting shot? Yeah, in Spider-Man, right?
Oh, okay. Yeah. I thought it was like you were referring to it as being like potentially very racist or something.
No. But yeah, like so they take a little bit to get to the part where like she falls in the water and like dies for a minute, and that's when she like gets all her Madam Webb abilities because she died or something. But then like the movie, it's like takes such a drastic like halt. Basically she goes through like 5 different scenarios, like where she's like reliving the same moment before she realizes like what's really going on. And you're just like, oh my God, how many times do I need to see this? Like you realize that you're going through something for you to like get it to click. I mean, I don't know, man.
I'm not gonna lie. Like I'll say one of the things that I did like about the movie is I thought that the way that they were handling her, like these visions, like things would happen and then they would happen again. And she's like, wait a second. I did think that some of them were actually done kind of well. And I actually...
sure.
And so like, it actually didn't bother me. The way that the thing that bothered me...
I think it wouldn't have bothered me if it wasn't so many times.
Okay.
I think it was just so repetitive for me.
Sure. But I think what got me really... Because I thought that the ambulance, like when she eventually, like her captain, like dies and gets hit by that car. First of all, I felt nothing.
No, yeah.
They tried to make it seem like it was this really like emotional point in the movie.
Was that the same guy from the barbecue?
Yes.
Who that was supposed to be? Okay. Yeah. So you meet him for like a minute.
Felt nothing.
Yeah.
But
you knew it was gonna happen.
Yeah, right. but I was like, you know, I thought that was still done somewhat well, at least like the flashing between things. And like I was like, but what drove me crazy was, first of all, what time of the year do you think that this movie takes place?
The summer?
Yes. So right. So it's somewhat warm. Okay. Tell me why, for none other than heavy-handed trying to make a moment for the audience to learn something that we already know. Is she watching A Christmas Carol in the middle of fucking summer? It's because, do you remember she's on the couch and Scrooge is like, oh, I can't actually change anything. They're the way that I'm like, I get it. And it doesn't make any sense why you're watching a Christmas movie in the fucking summer.
No, but the symbolism is there. You got to use Scrooge.
It's, it is so lazy. I swear it is like, okay. And then lifts up the window. Oh, this couldn't actually happen, that the bird would live, but let me try. Yeah. Okay, the bird lives. That's all you needed to do. Hey. But no, you had to say, I guess you didn't die, or whatever the fuck she said. I'm like, oh.
Look, I got to give props, though. They used a real bird. Remember? I shout on Echo for this. It looked like they used a real pigeon, and I'm like, props, Sony. We got birds back.
Fine, we got a living bird. But yeah, it was. Yeah, I was like, God, do they think we're idiots? Because I swear to God, like, and also the characters are fucking stupid.
They're one. It's a lot of bad acting. I didn't believe that the actresses that playing the teenage girls were anything close to those personalities. I don't know. It just like, it didn't scream like Sydney Sweeney being the shy, like schoolgirl. Like I didn't believe it.
No, but she, like, I liked the two other girls. I was like, you know, I kind of like them. But like Sydney Sweeney, I was like,
what are their names? Can you remember their names? I can't remember.
No,
any of their names.
I don't know.
Yeah, right.
But like, Sydney Sweeney, I was like, there is no way that I buy that you are this shy, you know, bookish. Right. And then she's like wearing the shortest skirt and the worst wig I've seen in a movie. Like, goddamn, that wig looked terrible.
You know what pisses me off? They like, she talked about this. She talked about this one scene, like, as an actress, where she argued to have like her coming down from the ceiling where like her feet were like above her head, you know, like, so like basically doing the like iconic pose for that character. Yeah. And you really don't get to see it. Like you see like half of her, like you see her head coming, like, you know, like her hair's like coming down, but you don't see the full pose. And I was like, they didn't even get like one of the coolest parts of this movie in it, which is just, so like this movie to do that. Yeah. But yeah, like, and then like the dynamics between like the girls and Madam Webb, like, they just didn't make any sense. Like they were already like angry at each other before they even like really even knew who each other were. And I'm like, you're all being like hunted down. You think you would like maybe throw off like your attitude to like work together in this situation, but I don't know. It just wasn't authentic at all.
You know, I mean, and to be fair, like, I don't know how much of the script is the problem. Like, and they're just like, this is I can't do anything with this script.
Right.
What, and because there's just multiple things, like the taxi scene where she's driving the girls and it's no music, nothing.
Yeah.
It is.
Well, they start throwing some 2000s music in there later in the movie.
Sure. But that scene is going on for like 5-6 minutes of them just talking in the taxi, trying to like have this like really tense moment. But it's like the flattest, slowest moment. And I'm like, oh my God, this dialogue is garbage.
Yeah. And by the way, let's talk about this taxi, because she drives this taxi the entire movie, and it is very clearly like damaged, stolen taxi. And she drives it to the airport. She leaves it at the airport for over a week, and she still has the taxi when she comes back. I'm just like,
how is she a wanted woman in New York City and is able in the prime of right
after 9/11,
she is able to get on a plane and fly internationally to and from America.
Left a stolen car at the airport. Yeah. She's good. She doesn't have anything to worry about.
And also Cassandra Webb as a character, she's like,
what a horrible name, by the way.
Yeah. I'm kind of awkward. I don't like social situations, but I'm also like really mean and want everyone to shut up.
Right.
And
the black teenager too. She was so mean to everybody. And I'm what is the point of you being mean right now? Like you're not bringing anything to this group. You're awful.
Yeah. Yeah, man. And I, oh my God, there's just so many things. There's just so many. And like, here's the thing. Yeah. Like, I don't want to blame it on one particular thing. I don't even know. I just feel like there's blame to go all around.
And I think, you have to blame Sony. You have to blame the director. You have to blame the writer. You have to blame the actresses. Like and the actor who played, the villain I can't even name. But
like the Ezekiel Sims, like,
that's his name.
I wonder, like, here's the thing. I'm sure everybody who signed on to this movie wanted to make a good movie.
Right.
Something happened. And here's the first thing that was wrong. They hired the same writers who made
Morbius,
The Last Witch Hunter, who made Gods of Egypt, made Morbius, all super low rated bad movies. And like you said, did Morbius.
Yep.
Horrible, memeable movie that Sony just went, let's hire them again. And so right from the beginning, you have this horrible marriage conception of like Sony just not caring enough with this idea for a character that's like, let's completely change who Madam Web is.
Right. Because she's not anything close to the age of Madam Web.
And let's hire these writers who keep making horrible movies time after time.
And the way they wrote it is so frustrating, because like you get their, like, everyone obviously wants to see the superheroes in costume fighting at the end. We don't get that. No. And the only time we ever get them in costume is a dream sequence and a flash forward into the future.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Which is at the very end of the movie for like 30 seconds. So like, what was the point? Like, I feel like the whole point of this movie was to set up a sequel.
Yeah.
And I was like nobody's going to want to see a sequel of this.
It was marketing, just false advertising.
So bad too.
False advertising, though. None of that's really in the movie.
No.
Not the way that they make it seem.
Yeah, it's not. It's definitely, I mean, like, at the most, I want like 5 minutes of a fight scene with them in costume. I think that's all I'm asking for. And it doesn't seem that hard to give us. But and we don't even get any of their origins. Like, you only get Madam Web's origin. You don't get any of the Spider-Woman.
I mean,
origins.
They kind of tell you like, oh, my parents are gone. My parents are gone. My parents.
Well,
are gone.
But like, not how they get their powers. Like, they all get powers in the future, and you have no idea how that's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Right. So
and also like, when I watched, I was like, so what okay, let's say that this was like a smash success. What was the plan? First of all, you don't see how they get their powers, just like you said.
Right.
You just get a flash forward to like when she's, when she's blind now and they're still teenagers. But like, or you like, what was the idea? Like, oh yeah, we'll have Madam Webb in a wheelchair and she'll astral project because that's something she can do. And we'll have these 3 girls and maybe we'll call it a different movie. But I'm like, what a weird way to set up a universe. Because this isn't even attached to Venom or anything.
It's not. I mean, like, I guess if you wanted to, you could like make up age like Dakota Johnson and get her to look older, like 20 years older if you wanted to. And then like maybe recast all of the 3 teenagers as like adult women and like have it go from there, and maybe like jump into the Morbius Venom universe that's happening. But like it doesn't make sense. I think they had plans to make this a part of like a Spider-Man universe that they were wanting to start, and that just did not work at all because of their horrible planning. So I don't know what the original plan was. I would assume it's that, but they're terrible at planning, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I could point out a million other things. I think one that like really bothers me is the line with great power comes great responsibility. They like butchered the hell out of that with the native guy.
If you accept responsibility, great power will come.
Oh God, I rolled my eyes so hard when he said that. And I'm like, this dude speaks perfect English. He doesn't even have an accent. Like, how is he a native? I don't know. It's just like there's just so many small things that add up to being terrible.
Why is Ezekiel, first of all, okay. Why is Ezekiel Sims, I see him in the movie jump stories down, do superhero landing. Fine. Yeah. Why is he scared that he will be pushed out a window? Like, that's not going to kill it. We see him jump stories down.
Well, I mean, but that seemed like 30 stories, right? I don't know. That seems a little hard to survive. I feel you. He got hit with an ambulance and survived. So,
like,
I don't know.
It doesn't make any sense. Why is he barefoot all the time?
Was he barefoot? I didn't even notice.
He was barefoot like all the time, Ian.
How did I not notice that?
I was like, why are you barefoot? Why?
Like in his own apartment or what?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And walking out in the world barefoot.
Huh.
Never explained. Just so weird.
Odd. Yeah, very odd.
And then I'm sure the actor is, I think I remember people saying like he's really good in this thing, but I'm sorry.
No, he's not. He's terrible.
Well, here's the thing. I don't want to put it all on the actor. It could be. But it could be also the directing. It could also be the fact that they ADR'd everything. And I'm like, it's the flattest ADR I've ever heard in my fucking life.
Right. Like, I believe that Dakota Johnson and Sydney Sweeney can be good actresses, but they were not in this movie. Like, I don't think anybody was helped out. Right. The script, the directing, I'm sure it was all, horrible. So,
because like obviously Pepsi was sponsoring this movie.
Calvin Klein too.
And so somebody decided, and so the writers think, oh, let's have a huge S from the Pepsi sign kill our villain.
Well, the S started it and the P killed him. So oh man.
Okay. I didn't even notice that. See, that's so stupid.
Yeah, and so that's why the S was there in that original Madam Webb, whatever awakening sequence.
Yeah,
right, yeah. And she just wants to go home and watch Idol. That's all she wants to do.
Yeah, she just wants to watch Idol. And also, I totally forgot that Emma Roberts is in this fucking movie.
Yeah, I totally forgot too. I was like, wow, you're a really small part of this. Okay.
And here's the other stupid thing. There's so many things wrong with the script, but like particularly when Emma Roberts breaks her water and we know that the girls should not leave the house.
Why would they go?
Why would you not just leave them there?
I said that during the movie. I was like, what are you doing?
Like literally they like nothing would happen. You would have the baby just fine. You don't need them to come.
Yeah. And why does everyone leave their car running in New York? Apparently, like the ambulance, the taxi, like keys in the ignition. You're just let's just go. We're good.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
It's like I don't know. Like to me that scene was so flawed in a sense because like they can't go into the house, so they're just standing at the door. There's no way they don't hear this woman like get in the car and like start it. I don't know. It just seems so like every like turn you make in this movie, there's a weak ass choice, and it's just so disappointing.
Like and also the CPR scene.
Oh my god! Wait, which one? Are you saying
both?
Well, so there's
particularly
there's the first one.
The first one.
Okay, where she's pumping on the guy who's bleeding. Yeah, that makes no sense. Well, I mean, I'm just
no.
I mean,
no. The one where she's teaching the girls how to do CPR.
Oh, okay, sure. Yeah, you're a good teacher. Yeah. I was like, I don't think I've ever said this before. I was like, come on, she's barely teaching you. Like
it's like, oh my god, it is the longest, cringiest, and dumbest way to. First of all, we all know if we're anywhere like well read and understanding of how movies work, this will happen later.
Right.
That they're going to use this later.
Yep.
Second, they're trying to build like, oh, this great moment where we're together and we love it and we're happy together. But it's so flat and so like, it's just so unexciting. And like, everyone's just like, oh yeah, cool.
Oh, great. Thank you.
I'm getting tired. Okay, I'll jump
I was like,
in.
after 20 seconds, you're getting tired? Okay.
Yeah, well, to be fair, like I've done practice CPR and 20 seconds can be
okay.
Doing like this.
Okay.
It can be a little, you know,
right.
pushing on a full ass body. But
I'll take your word for it.
But like it was just so flat. And I was like, it's so obvious what you're trying to do, but there's no chemistry here at all.
No.
And the whole idea of it, I'm just like, if you're gonna have this idea, you gotta have some good like dialogue or something to make us like think that this is like a moment where you guys are like bonding. And
then they had that really cheesy moment at the end where like the nurse comes in and she's like, "Are you guys immediate family?" And she's like, "Yep, they're mine." And I'm like, "Oh, come on."
And she looks so goofy with those glasses at the end.
She does. I know they're like the signature glasses, but like
they're just like not everything has to.
Right. You got to give us the actual comic accurate every time. No. But I would have liked it, I guess, in a sense, to be more comic accurate, because what we got here was just dog shit.
Yeah, because like she's an interesting character as like a secondary character, or just like a being that propels plot,
right?
But this,
like, I don't want to like, I don't know. I'll give it the benefit of the doubt. I think this character could be like a main character movie type, but the way they wrote it was just the wrong decision at every turn.
Yeah, I mean, like I was seeing like Boss Logic made a post about it and was like, you know, if this wasn't a superhero movie, it could actually be like a somewhat more interesting movie. And I was and you know when I was watching it, like the power to see the future and different outcomes is like there could be an interesting character with that.
So,
but,
sorry, go on.
Like at the end, so we've been seeing her do her powers this entire time, and we've seen it visually shown to us, maybe a little too much. But the time where you would, I understand what they're doing. We're under the understanding that like she's able to block all these fireworks and things in real time because she's seeing the future.
Right.
So I understand that. But the time of the movie where it would be most visually and cinematically interesting to see those powers happen, they were not shown. And then we have an astral projection of her trying to save the girls who then the villain just goes after Madam Webb for I don't know why.
The villain does that multiple times though. He lands right in front of the girls in the metro, punches every cop. He walks into the diner, punches a dude at a booth for no reason, and I'm like, just go for the girls. Like, what are you doing? This is your whole goal. It's just terrible. It was just terrible. I was shocked when you texted that it was worse than Morbius.
I do think it's worse than Morbius.
I would agree because I think Morbius, you could have a stupid, funny, bad time with that movie. But this one, it's not possible.
Yeah, I know some people, like, I still think that the Madam Web rating is higher than Morbius currently. But, like,
I think the last time I saw it, it was tied. So I don't know what it's at right now.
Okay.
But
I mean, I could watch Morbius again because at least it was like vampires and like there were some cool scenes. Like I like the ship scene and like there was things that like I actually like Matt Smith, even though he does some goofy things. Like I still like Matt Smith, and
I'm
like,
not a fan of him in that movie at all.
Sure, but like the dialogue is not nearly as bad. It's just a boring movie, you know. And I have the dance scene. And
that's what I think. Yeah, that's like the funniest part of the movie. So the song that's there is so funny. Like my friends and I play that just out of nowhere sometimes. It's great. It's great. Yeah.
And this isn't like,
yeah,
I want to shit on Madam Web because like I hate female characters. Like, no. It's just a fucking terrible movie.
It's just a bad movie in every aspect.
It's not even like you said, like it's not even the movie that like you're like, okay, this is so bad that it's good.
Right.
Fun to watch. It's like it's just like it's like a bore. It's like a chore. It's a
chore. Yeah. I think if it was like maybe half an hour shorter, like I could feel closer to that. Yeah. But for some reason, 2 hours of this movie just dragged. It just dragged. Yeah.
And I don't know if you remember the line, but it was like so ridiculously stupid when Ezekiel Sims is having like a nightmare, and all you hear is my spider. They took my spider. Where is my spider? And I was like, what is that? Like, first of all, I never
why do you
got
need the spider anymore?
Yeah. I was like, why do you need the spider anymore?
Right.
You know, and I was like, okay, is this something in the backstory in the comics that like you're trying to bring to the script? Because we never learned like, he needs his spider.
Yeah. No one ever tries to steal the spider.
So. No one tries to steal. Nobody. Why did the Spider Women kick him out of the window? Why did their first thing have to be murder?
You know, I think we'll find that out in the sequel, Zach. Okay.
But speaking of sequels, which like I know you're gonna talk about something,
right.
But like Craven, I think Craven looks, at least really one bad. Part of it looks bad.
No, I think most of it looks pretty bad. Yeah.
But like, I was hearing somebody say, you know, just like how Warner Brothers has been writing things for off for tax purposes, they have probably done more damage to their next few movies by releasing this than if they just like, you know what, let's just collect some money, you know, let's just do this as a tax write-off or something.
That is kind of like a good segue into kind of like the news around this. I think what's happened is like the Sony saw the writing on the wall, like the wall with this movie, and I think even before it came out, like they were already like I guess rerouting their plans. So we got news. Basically, the Silk Spider Society. I think it's a show that was being developed. They have fired the entire writers' room except the showrunner, and are now saying it's going to be skewed towards a male audience. I think that is directly related to this movie because I think in a sense, like because it's an all-female cast, they believe that they were trying to, I guess, provide for the female audience. And I think I don't know how well like a Silk Spider Society is going to be received at all. Like, has that character earned their own series when we've never seen them in like anything Spider-Man related? Probably not. But the other like news is that Nicolas Cage might be involved now with the Spider-Man Noir series that's coming out, which in my mind sounds like they're trying to build more off of the like the Spider-Verse movies, which I think definitely makes sense if this universe you're building has gone downhill so fast. Like, I don't see a salvageable way when like your last two movies have tanked terribly. So I think there are some definitely repercussions from the fallout of this movie. I don't know if you agree, but it seems like that's what's happening.
I think that if you're going to orient a female character, it's Silk, right?
Yeah.
To a male, to make it more male oriented, I think that sounds like a bad idea. And
I think you're just gonna end up objectifying that woman, right?
Yeah,
right.
So, and also, women like superheroes. Women are a larger part of the population than men, and they aren't
a larger part of the population of like comic book movie watchers.
But if
I will say that.
But if you want to make if you make a project that's like that a girl's like that like speaks to me, I guarantee, like, I think they're gonna think it's cool and they're gonna want to watch it. And I think the fact that if you are like, oh, let's make this female character more cool and oriented towards guys, I think I don't know what their plans are, but right off the bat, I'm like, Sony, that sounds like a really terrible idea. And
it definitely sounds like they're like just skewing like the complete opposite direction of what they're right. Yeah.
Because I'm like, there's a lot of people who I think would be perfectly fine with that. Like, with it being more towards the female perspective. And like, honestly, there should be more of it. But if you want to make it for monetary reasons and shift completely, like, I don't know, maybe they're shifting and it's a good thing because maybe what they have is not good.
I mean, it definitely isn't good.
But, well, we don't know.
Oh, you mean for Silk in general?
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Right.
So, but like, just hearing that, I'm like, that seems like a bad idea. But I think we talked a little bit, or at least like you and I have talked a little bit about the Spider-Man Noir series.
It could be a movie. I can't totally remember. Let me see.
But I mean,
it's a series. Yep.
It's the Spider-Verse is super hot. I think a lot of, like, we already had talked about that there's a Spider-Woman like movie in the works, or potentially in the works, with Haley Steinfeld. And I would love to see Nicolas Cage as Spider-Man Noir. That would be great.
He's the voice I want behind that character. Even if I never see Nicolas Cage in general, I would love to just have him voice the character.
Yeah. And I mean, the only thing I would be a little wary about is he's a great secondary character that's good for like comedic bits.
Right.
I don't know how much of just like with all of these characters that they're trying to make their own series out of.
Right.
The way that they've portrayed thus far, it could be really good, but thus far, Spider-Man Noir, it's very kind of 1 to 2 note character of like, I'm serious and I'm black and white and I'm from another time. It's like, I get it. And it's funny at times.
Yeah,
but
they'll have to go way more serious and in depth, I think, for a series to work.
Yeah. So it's possible. I mean, like, Batman in the Lego Batman movie was very like, I'm Batman.
Sure,
like,
sure.
That's
but it
funny.
Was comedic, right?
And then they make the Lego Batman movie, which I've only seen part of.
I've never seen it. Yeah.
But people said it was really good. So, it can be done, but
it'll be tough. Yeah. I think any Spider-Man project they put out going forward will be a challenge, except for things directly related to the Spider-Verse or a Tom Holland movie.
Yeah.
So, they got their work cut out for them for sure. I don't know. I don't know where they go going forward at this point.
I don't even know what they do with Craven. There's a 50-50 chance in my mind that I'm like, they might just cancel it. They might do a tax write-off.
No, I mean,
they
here's the thing. But I'm sure they spent a lot of money on that movie. I don't think you would make up the money. I think you got to risk it and like put it in theaters, you know, especially with Aaron Taylor Johnson and Chad. I think people will show up to the theater for him a little bit. But I don't know how long that will last. So we'll see. We've been going on Spider-Man for quite a long time.
Okay.
So,
I don't even know how long we've been talking about it.
About 40 minutes, you know.
Holy shit.
But you know, it's all good. So I say we move on to our second topic. I think that's all our thoughts, right? On Madam Webb and all the Spider-Man stuff. Terrible. So the other news that we want to talk about right after this is the announcement that a Mandalorian game is in the works at Respawn. Basically, it's kind of similar to what we saw with that Indiana Jones presentation. It's going to be a first-person game where you're in the shoes of a Mandalorian. It's not confirmed who you're playing as yet. It's not like the Mandalorian that we know. It could be, but from what we know, it might not be. And then, so basically, the other news is that it's a very fast-paced game and it rewards players who play with that style. It's focused on mobility. It's more of a linear game, kind of like I don't know if it's going to be exactly like this, but like Respawn made Jedi Fallen Order, and that was a technically linear game with a lot of like open world levels.
Right.
So I think it could be similar to that. It's set during the Galactic Civil War, and you can capture bounties dead or alive for cash rewards. So, in a sense, this kind of reminds me of like the Star Wars Outlaws game, where you're kind of.
What I was going to say, yeah.
Right. Where you're. I mean, I guess in that one you're working outside the law. This one you're dealing with those individuals, but you're on the other side of it. So I don't know. I think in general this is super exciting. Like I obviously like third person games more, but like I'm a huge fan of Dishonored. I don't know if you ever played those games.
Yeah, we've talked about it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that is like one of the best examples of how to do like a first person action game. And I think if they can pull it off, like oh man, I feel bad for forgetting the developer's name, but it's Bethesda over top of it's Arcane. Arcane, I think is what their name is. If they can pull it off somewhat like Arcane, I think that's exciting. And I don't know if you've played Apex Legends.
Yeah.
But that is a first person, very fast paced game. So if they wanted to take the mechanics straight from their own game and kind of modify them, I think that works super well too. So yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if it's because I grew up playing first person games that I like them. You know, probably more.
A lot of people don't.
Yeah, I know. I know there's a lot of people who don't. And I like third person. It was actually strange. I had a very hard time getting used to third person games because I just played so many first persons.
Wow.
Yeah. But now I'm like, yeah, I'm perfectly fine with it. And to some extent, like, yeah, if you were to tell me, like, do you want a Mandalorian game in first person or third person? I would probably say third person. But I think that's because the first person has kind of gone out of style and nobody's been able to do it very well or make it exciting again. And, you know, like we saw with the Indiana Jones game, maybe like, because that looked pretty good. That looked, you know, and I like,
in a sense, it sounds more exciting to be in the shoes of like your favorite character, you know?
Yeah.
Instead of like watching them do things in a way. Yeah.
Now, I don't know how you would fit in the mechanics of Apex Legends into a Mandalorian game.
Sure, but if you wanted to move that fast, and I don't know, I feel like the movement is kind of what I'm talking about more.
That would be very exciting, depending on like how the action like levels go on the Mandalorian game. Like if you're going to capture a bounty and like there's a lot of gunfighting, like that could be really interesting if it was that fast paced as opposed to something like Jedi Fallen Order where it's more like you have a whole wide range. I think maybe it could work because it's like if you're gunned down and you're first person, like you can't see the whole perspective the way that you could with a third person, and it could make it feel more intense, which is kind of something that I always liked about those games.
Yeah, I guess that's interesting because they also like they mentioned that they don't know if there's going to be like a multiplayer yet. And I was like, well, would this game need a multiplayer at all? But like, you know, it almost sounds like the mechanics would be there for it if you wanted to like have multiplayer like battles in a sense, you know, as multiple Mandalorians. I think that'd be very cool.
Yeah, I mean, you could do it where it's like capture the flag, but it's capture the bounty, or like you're the bounty, you know?
Right. Yeah.
And your friend could, like your friends or somebody else could hog tie you or
because they used to do that in Assassin's Creed. Like when I played Brotherhood, they had a multiplayer like mode where you could. I think that's what it was. You were hunting somebody, but somebody was also hunting you at the same time.
Yeah.
And so you had to kind of be like stealthy, but like trying to find your target. So I think if you did something like that, that would be pretty neat.
Yeah.
I'd be very into that.
And I mean, like a Mandalorian game, like it could be very profitable. It could be very, very profitable.
For sure. And I think this is part of like, I think that like, I know Bob Iger, and maybe it wasn't Bob Iger, but like Disney in general was like, video games are a huge part of the market and we need to start like getting into that market more. I think this is very much like we see the success Respawn has had with our Star Wars games. Let's give them another opportunity in their own actual style and see what they do with it. And I think that's super exciting. So
yeah, and I mean like it's not like necessarily Star Wars games have gone away. Because there's always like things here and there, but there used to be so many cool Star Wars games.
And more will start coming out because it's not just EA making the Star Wars games now.
Yeah.
But I agree. I think it's a long time coming for more Star Wars games.
And like, if you're not doing good in the movie and TV department, like the games, not always, but the games have been very like popular.
The only one that hasn't really like performed well is Battlefront, but even then like they do pretty good numbers wise. So
it wasn't there like a Squadron too.
Oh yeah, but I don't think any of them have been like critically panned though, you know, like some of the shows or movies have. Like I think for the most part, like people play those games, you know, even if people didn't love Battlefront, people played those games for quite a bit.
Yeah.
So I think it's exciting. I'm pretty happy about it.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't expect it to come out till probably, if it comes out, probably like 2027.
Like, Respawn is quick. Like, I'll give them that. So I think at the earliest we'll get it in 2026. At the earliest.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say at the earliest, but I feel like realistically, maybe 2027.
No, I feel you. But, you know, like they put out Jedi Fallen Order and I think Apex in the same year. So they're capable of putting out multiple projects at the same time. So who knows how long it'll take. But
sure, I
definitely wouldn't hold your breath. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, different topic completely here. Going away from any big corporation. We're talking about a trailer called The Riddle of Fire. It looks so wonderfully indie. Kind of reminds me a little of like Wes Anderson in a sense.
A little bit, yeah.
And it just looks like a wonderful coming of age kid movie where their imaginations get to run wild and have a great time. And I don't even know what the full story is, but I think it's obviously a coming of age. They'll learn some lessons. I think it'll be really nice. I think it looks like a really nice time.
Yeah, I put this on like our Google Doc and I showed the link to Ian so he could watch it, and I highly suggest to watch this trailer, which is it's the first time director by his name is Weston Razooli,
Yeah, he's only done like shorts and music videos up to this point.
Okay. And it is coming wide release or, to movie theaters in April of this year.
That's pretty soon.
But the synopsis, it very quickly is just 3 mischievous children embark on a woodland odyssey when their mother sends them on an errand. Right. Which, like, you kind of pick up, like, I think the mom's like, yeah, go get this thing. And then they go to the supermarket.
I think it was like a pie. I think they're going to get. Yeah.
And then this guy takes it and it's the last one. And they're like, we're going to go get this thing. And they're going to go off with their
paintball guns,
their
and
paintball
bikes.
Guns, yeah. And they're gonna go get it, and they're gonna like set up this whole plan about how they're gonna break in and get it. And obviously, like, there's definitely way more going on, and there's like young love and
mischievous and
it reminds me of, like, with the beginning, it's like, I'm a fairy, and it's like, do you think she's actually a fairy? And then it. And it reminded me of, like, Bridge to Terabithia and a little bit of, I can't.
It's funny. Sorry, go on. I'll let you.
No, just like, it just reminded me of, like, movies where you just let, like, it was kind of like Where the Wild Things Are kind of thing, where, like, these
where you
kids,
just let the kids be kids, right?
Kids be kids. But there's also, like, there's this music video by Arcade Fire where it's all these kids with paint guns going around town on bicycles. And they're all like, it's all about, like, suburban life. And it starts off, like, really, like, ideal and fun. And kids are just, like, doing fun things. But then like this army sweeps in, and, like, one of the kids has to, like, join the military, and, like, a fight breaks out. And it gets really serious. And I feel like it's a similar vibe to this trailer. Right. It's like these could be real kids in real world, but it's still, like, a little bit elevated. But there's, like, it's definitely grounded, but it just feels like potentially, like, iconic characters that you would see in, like, a Goonies.
Right. I think it's very, like, I think I'm starting to realize I love most stories where it's like kids on bikes having an adventure.
Ian, like, loves kid. No.
No. Whoa. But no, like, Stranger Things and Super 8 are, like, super similar, like, kind of properties. And I think that has a similar vibe, like, in a very weird sense. I don't know if you've ever even heard this movie, but it's called How to Eat Fried Worms.
Yes. Yes.
I got a somewhat similar vibe to that, because it's kids on bikes in a kind of an adventure. I think, they're in the forest quite a bit sometimes, and How to Eat Fried Worms. So yeah, I don't know. I think you're in for a good time with most of those movies and shows. So
yeah, I mean, and I don't want to say, like, it's like all of the movies or like things that we've talked about, because it does feel very.
It has its very own vibe, right?
Yeah. And that's what's exciting. And I also don't feel like I've seen a movie like this in a minute.
It's been
like,
a while. Yeah.
It looks really inventive and magical, and I'm very excited to see it.
I agree. I agree. Super excited. Yeah.
Yeah.
So another, not a trailer, but another property movie that was recently announced that we want to talk about is Sam Mendes, the director behind a couple of James Bond movies, is taking on the challenge to direct 4 Beatles biopics at the same time. Is that right?
I don't know if it's at the same time, but
I mean, to me, that would make sense, right? You get to use all 4 actors, like, at the same time for all 4 different biopics,
right? It would probably go that way,
right?
And I guess Apple, they own the stuff with the Beatles, and, like, this is apparently the first time that they've allowed a director to get full story, like, song rights, all of that. So
that's nice.
This feels like it's happening, but I'm sorry. It is a movie. Each movie is one of the Beatles.
Right.
And I'm sorry. Is there actually enough story to, like, do that? Is anybody, and I love Ringo, but is anybody going to be like, oh man, Ringo, the Ringo story, you know, like
no, like, yeah, nobody, like, yes, we love Ringo, but like, does anyone really care about Ringo? Like, in a sense, like I'm just saying he clearly had the least amount going on. He's had the least amount going on, like post-career Beatles.
Yes.
So I don't know. I think like specifically Paul, like John and George are interesting to follow, like post Beatles. I think that would be like a very interesting part of the story. But yeah, I feel like we would, and maybe everyone's experiences are like so different that it feels like you could get a different biopic out of this.
Yeah.
I think that's probably what they're going for. Like maybe like certain scenes will like play out in different ways because it's a different perspective.
Yeah, I mean,
you know?
that is what I'm hoping it's going to be like, and
they take artistic liberties like that.
Yeah,
right.
and I hope it's like pulled off really well, and I hope that there's like very cool, interesting ideas. And I've thought about like, what if there was a movie where like each sequel is like a different character and we base it off their perspective, and then we see the events play out in a different new way.
Right.
That is an interesting, cool idea. If it can be done, I don't know. Because like how many times it needs to be interesting enough each time around that when similar
when the fourth movie comes around, I actually give a shit.
When like a potentially the same events happen, we need to still like be interested by them.
Yeah.
But who knows? Like maybe it'll be like they only touch on certain events in one movie and then they touch on another event in the other movie. And I'm assuming maybe the Ringo movie will be like a lot more funny and lighthearted. Yeah. And then the George movie will be like, oh, they never let me write my songs and I'm going to show them. And then,
well, at least, here's the thing. I think at least with Ringo's, you're going to have a different start of the movie because I know he was the last member to join. Like they had a different drummer originally, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think, yes, I agree. I think it'll be more funny. I think you'll get to see a lot of like his artistic side in it. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Well, we'll see. I think
they definitely do not lead with Ringo though. Like I feel like they lead with either Paul or John.
Yeah, it's got to be Paul or John. It's probably going to be John, to be honest.
I think it would be Paul.
Yeah, I just feel like everyone looks at John as like he was the front man of the Beatles. I get that John and Paul were like Paul sang a lot. He had a lot of like written songs, but like it was John, like he was the guy.
I don't know about that.
I'm just saying, man.
I think it's weird. Some people will say like John was the front man. I oftentimes like see Paul as like the front man.
Yeah, and he has a lot of times where he is. I just feel like the majority of their just maybe, and it's not like it's a crazy amount of like more than Paul, but I do believe that John had more frontman moments than Paul did.
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, that either one they'd be good at like starting off with. But I just think like, no, we couldn't just do for potentially like the biggest band in the world. We couldn't just do one movie or break it up into two movies to tell the story. We have to have a movie for each. And by the way, like this is either an hour and a half.
It better be an hour and a half
to 2.5 hours.
I'm not sitting through
each
4 2-hour movies. Like even like that's just and here's the thing. Like, do you think they all come out at the same time? Do you think it's like 3 months apart each from each other and they all come out in the same year?
Or like for 4 years we just get a new Beatles movie?
Yeah, that would be a drag, to be honest. Like I think I would rather like all come out in like 1 year or 2 years or like all at the same time. I don't know.
It's
waiting a year each time would be rough.
It's probably like they'll do it for 1 year where each movie is probably 3 months apart, I'd imagine.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, like do people go and see the fourth one, or are they just tired at that point? Like
depends on how well it's done. I mean, this is like a big decision to like.
Is it going to be Is it going to be in theaters? Like, do we know that yet, or is it going to be like straight to streaming?
It's all they've said is that it's being like they've okayed
just,
it
right,
and like
right.
they're gonna do it, you know.
Okay. Well,
And you know, Sam has made Skyfall, which love Skyfall.
really good. Yep.
He's made Spectre, not as good.
I also say it's really good.
That's a take.
I like Spectre, man.
But he's also made 1917, and that's
a great one.
Fucking rules.
That's better than both of those movies. So
it might be better than both those movies. Yeah. And so like, I think he's a great director. So I'm hopeful that these movies are gonna be good. And I love the Beatles. So, like,
yeah,
but
not to.
But I think it's just a wild idea. First of all, like in a time where Dune didn't get to be made altogether, which would have probably been more financially, safe in some ways,
right?
Instead of doing just a part 1 and a part 2. But a studio is okaying like 4 movies of the same thing to like, it's just,
I don't think this
interesting.
has happened. I think the last time this probably happened was like The Hobbit, right? Because I think they made all those at the same time, just like Lord of the Rings. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's been about a decade since we got in a project, and it's way less. It's way more grounded. So probably not going to be as much for the studio to make.
Or will it be? What if it's going to be like
very like a visual kind of masterpiece? Yeah.
Yeah.
I could see that.
Like what if it's a bit more like Elton John Rocket Man, where it's like more music video than movie in a way,
right.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But
yeah. We'll see what Sam Mendes does.
We'll see. We will see.
Yeah, for sure. Well, some more movie news. We got a release date change / delay for the John Wick spinoff Ballerina, starring Ana de Armas. Got delayed by a whole year, which is very surprising.
It was going to come out this summer. It's coming out next July.
But it sounds like they're bringing on Chad Stahelski. Is that how you say his name?
Yeah.
To basically punch up the movie with some more action. And from what I heard, this exact same thing happened on the Birds of Prey movie, where like I think this guy might have directed it, and then Chad Stahelski came in and like punched it up with more action.
Okay.
Which and I like Birds of Prey. I know some people don't.
I don't.
You don't? Yeah, I think it's a good one. I think they're like that last action scene I'm not a fan of, but I think the rest of the movie I think is a fun, exciting, action filled time. I think Ballerina with the combination of those two could be, although it is worrying to have to delay it a whole year because of reshoots. So yeah, I don't know. Will people still care in a year about a John Wick spinoff without John Wick? I don't know. If they don't make a John Wick 5, and I mean, I think they're going to make a John Wick 5, but
I mean, John Wick will cameo in this movie.
Oh, it's confirmed.
And so will Winston. Okay. So I mean, there will be those characters in it. I think that after seeing Ana de Armas in No Time to Die, I'm like,
sure, I want an action movie with her for sure. Yeah,
she was so good.
Yeah, and there was talks about giving her a spinoff for James Bond, like that character.
I would love that,
but I don't think they're going to do that at this point.
I don't think they're ever going to do that now.
No,
but I mean, it's a bit worrying that the same guy. Because I think he did some stuff with the Underworld movies, and I haven't really watched those, but I don't necessarily see them as like stuff that I would want to watch necessarily. And I didn't like Birds of Prey, so this isn't like necessarily.
So it wasn't the same director.
Okay,
so at least there's that.
But like, look, if they need to punch up the action, it can either be one of two things, which is the movie was lacking in action, which is probably not a good thing. And maybe this is a good idea, or they're just trying to find something else to like do with this movie, because maybe it's not turning out like, obviously it's not turning out the way that they want. And I mean, it's definitely concerning if you're like making a ballerina John Wick action movie and like you need to punch up the action. Makes me a little concerned. Boy. But I still have hope. But
the last thing this guy directed is like last thing that movie wise this guy directed was the 2012 remake of Total Recall. So been quite a bit of time since he's directed anything serious. And I don't think that Total Recall remake was received well.
No.
So yeah, I'm very much worried now about this one. He's apparently also directing a Sin City TV show that's coming out at some point, which that sounds cool. But yeah, man, I don't understand why they wouldn't have just had or really pushed Chad Stahelski to like make this movie, since he's like the guy for John Wick. But yeah, I hope he's able to make it better if the studio doesn't have faith in it at the moment.
I mean, I haven't seen The Continental yet, but you know, I've heard mixed things.
I haven't heard the greatest things about it.
But you know, I'm excited. I've been excited to watch this movie, and you know, I'm just gonna say, hopefully, this is all for the better. But
yeah.
It means more money being put into the budget, which is never a good thing. So
yeah, it's probably got a pretty high budget already. So
who knows? But
yeah,
you know,
we'll like always, we'll see when it comes out.
Yeah.
I wonder when we'll get our first trailer for that. I hope it's at least by the end of the year.
Probably.
I think that's possible. Yeah.
Probably. Probably next Super Bowl.
Oh, that'd be far away. That would be like, which isn't terrible. I like when movies like put out trailers close to a release date, but yeah, that would be a bummer to wait that long. But you're probably right. We'll see. Well, last movie news we had, which I think is pretty exciting. We got a director attached to the next Jurassic World movie. And that is the one and only Gareth Edwards. He's recently directed The Creator, and he's the director of Rogue One.
Which we don't know necessarily how much of Rogue One, because then you had Tony Gilroy come in, and like he's obviously doing the Andor stuff.
Yeah, and he also directed the Godzilla movie, the first one.
Yep.
Which to me feels like the main reason they hired this guy. Because I think that Godzilla, like even though it's not like a perfect Godzilla movie, it's it very much takes itself seriously. It has incredible visuals, and like Godzilla feels like massive in this movie. I think you can do some really great perspective things with Gareth Edwards as your director. And I think it's possible. I don't know if they would go this route, but you know, based on his more recent movies, he's more into like sci-fi tech being in his movies. Maybe we jump forward in the Jurassic World universe and get some more future sci-fi stuff.
So we get to get into the modified locust this time.
The modified locust. Maybe let's just drop the locust altogether. I think that would be helpful.
Nanobot locust.
Yeah.
We'll make it all about consumerism and billionaires.
I think in my mind, I look at the first one, the first Jurassic Park movie and the third Jurassic Park movie are like my favorites.
Yeah.
And those to me were like simple, somewhat low stakes stories in a way, whereas like the Jurassic World movies built the stakes so high, to a certain point.
Too high.
I think, right. And I think if you I guess shrink in the scale of your story and just focus on the quality, and like think of like 20, 30 years in the future, Jurassic World. The Jurassic World park has like completely overgrown. Dinosaurs are run wild on the island, and like a futuristic plane ship crashes, and these guys with futuristic guns have to get their ass out of the island. I don't know. I think something
Make it
like that.
Like 65.
I never saw 65, but if that's the vibe, then
well, I mean, Adam Driver with a futuristic gun and
sure, fighting dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not far off. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I think with Gareth Edwards, you like the direction can go in a lot of strong places. So I think that's super exciting.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you that I'll say this, regardless of how much he contributed to Rogue One, I still think like you can tell visually it's a lot of
what he's doing.
Yeah.
Right.
And like they're very similar from the creator, Rogue One, Godzilla, in what he can do visually, what he can do with effects is really remarkable. I didn't like the creator as much as a lot of people, which I really wanted to like it, and I didn't, and it was a bummer. But I will say that the effects, let alone, were like amazing, and they're up for. I mean, not that he was the sole reason, but he was a big part of like setting up the shots to make sure that like working with the visual effects artists to make sure that we can do it under a good in a good budget. And like, there's a sense of scale and depth and verisimilitude of like believing what you're actually seeing.
Right.
So with that being said, having dinosaurs into this world and making them look believable, which I gotta say, there is times like with the raptors in the Jurassic World series that I'm like, I believe that those are more real.
Sure.
But for the most part, like it's not, I never really felt like in those movies that those dinosaurs were like real. Like I knew I was watching a movie.
Right.
Whereas
and I think the thing too is that like the scale I think was kind of lost at a certain point. Like I think like what I was saying earlier, like the way the scale is with like in the creator with the big like machine in the sky, like it feels ginormous. And like same with Godzilla in that first movie. I think you bring back some real terror and scare with the dinosaurs, which obviously is the whole point of the Jurassic World movies. So I think it makes sense for sure.
Yeah. The only thing that I'm kind of hesitant about is I did like Godzilla a lot when it first came out. I do think that for the most part, I still like it. It's just a little slow and a little less like there's not a lot of Godzilla. Right. And then, I do really like Rogue One. Obviously, I have my issues with the creator. So like, I don't know story wise, like how much like, if he's not writing it. Right. Yeah, the original Jurassic Park writer is writing it, which is good. But we've talked about like he's written some other things that we're not so crazy about. So
yeah. So yeah, hopefully Gareth Edwards and him can work together and bang out a cool script. But they've both not made some great scripts. So
yeah, I mean, I just like you keep going on the idea that like it'll be like because we talked about last time with the original writer coming on that it's going to be this overgrown island. Like I know you really want that idea.
I do, yeah.
But I just like to your point, like at the end of the movie, it seems at the end of Dominion, it seems we're all living together now and everything's okay.
Right. So you wouldn't have to go back to the island ever, really, to have another story. Right.
But like, I just don't see how, unless like we come up with another like a reason why they need to all be on an island, like why that would happen. Because if we're going into the future, like I'm curious what that would look like. But like the possibilities are there. It's just the world has gotten to a point where I'm like, okay, there's dinosaurs living everywhere now.
Yeah, I would almost love for it in a sense to like take place before the Jurassic World series or like just not mention it at all. Yeah, I think that would be great. But But I doubt they'll do that. The Jurassic World movies, like all I think made over $1 billion. So yeah, it's not looking good for my hopes,
but it could be like in
Who
the
knows?
future, and they just don't really mention
Talk
that
about it.
like there's a lot
Yeah.
of dinosaurs everywhere. We're just like this story's happening.
that'd be nice. I could be okay with that. Yeah. But yeah, I think that's all the news we had on Jurassic World, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's all the topics that we wanted to go over. Did you get to watch anything this week?
I did.
Nice.
I got to see The Holdovers,
Noise.
and oh my God, it is
So good.
So good.
Nice.
I think in the marketing, they were like, they don't make movies like this anymore. And they certainly don't shoot movies like this very much anymore. They definitely, there's not a lot of stories like this one. And I just think about great movies about mentors and two flawed characters.
Love a good mentor movie.
Think Dead Poets Society, think Good Will Hunting.
Have you seen I think it's called Finding Forrester?
No.
I think that if that's the right name, that's another like really good mentor movie.
Okay.
I think it came out in like 2000.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know that one. But those two movies I've mentioned, Perks of Being a Wallflower sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a very, in a way, small movie with a limited cast in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And it's mostly about three people at this school, this boys only school. And everybody's going home for Christmas, except for Paul Giamatti's character and then the other characters.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's funny. It should not be labeled as a comedy because although it is funny, it is
sure. It has a lot of like heartfelt moments.
It's
sure.
It's way
right.
Well. It's like it's the way that like Robin Williams is funny in a drama.
Mm-hmm.
It's a drama that has some comedic moments, but it is not.
Why
a
am I
comedy.
blanking on that Matt Damon, Robin Williams movie?
Good Will Hunting.
Yeah. I love that one, dude.
So it is very emotional. It's very rewarding. It's very funny, but it just has this amazing vibe, and the script is so good. I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
I want to watch it again. It is both a Christmas movie and not a Christmas movie.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
But it's definitely a great movie to watch during the winter for sure.
Nice.
And yeah, I'm not gonna say that Paul Giamatti is gonna win Best Actor, but I would not be surprised.
Yeah.
I will say that.
Paul Giamatti's great.
Like, he was really good.
Nice.
And yeah, I'll just say, like, definitely go watch The Holdovers.
I have to watch it. I have to watch it for sure. I've been wanting to, and then that glowing review. Yeah,
it's so good. It's really good.
Nice. Well, so I watched a very different property this week. I finished the first half of season 2 for Invincible.
Yep. Okay. Yep.
Yeah. So you watched that, right? Already?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That was a great first half, man.
I think so. I think it's good. Yeah, I think it's good.
Yeah. I watched it with our friend Jared, and he hadn't seen it yet either. But he's read all the comics.
Oh, geez, I didn't know. I thought he'd be on top of it.
I thought so too, but I guess he wanted to wait until it was all out. And so he's read all the comics, and so it was really nice to have like his commentary and be like, oh wow, they're doing it like exactly like the comics. Like there's a lot of points where they're just pulling like crazy ideas and stories out of the comics, like the Midnight City.
Midnight City.
When he has to go and like get I can't remember the superheroes, but like the Batman type character.
Yeah, that was cool. Yeah.
Where it's like the city has a curse over it.
Yeah.
And then they had that whole like half an episode where it was like all Alan, and that was great.
Oh my God, that was brutal at the end.
Yeah. But and, I think like the most exciting thing, obviously in the first half, is like Mark getting sent up, and obviously spoilers to everybody, but like Mark getting sent up to this alien planet he thinks he's gonna save, only for his dad to have like become the emperor of said planet
And
and
father a new child.
a new child, take a new wife, realize that what he did was terrible and wants to be better now,
And now
but
has
hates
brought,
that he is better.
yes. And now has
Yeah,
also brought again horrible doom across an entire
to a new planet. Right. But he cares now. He actually cares this time. Which is very interesting. I love seeing that development, this like internal struggle he's having.
And did you see the trailer for for the other half of season 2?
No, I haven't seen it yet. I've heard some interesting things. But yeah, I truly love how that first half ends, where boy, it comes out of nowhere, but they leave a guy alive on accident, and he just snaps Omni-Man's back. I mean, he just destroys him. And yeah, Mark's pretty destroyed too, and they're like, yeah, so we're taking your dad back, and you're going to be you survived, so we believe in you. So you're going to be the new protector / watcher over the Earth, and you're going to make sure that they get in line with us.
Yeah.
Or we're going to kill everybody.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I love that little cliffhanger. I think that's a super exciting place to leave the story. And and such a minor part of it, but like, it seems like Amber has improved so much in this season. Like, I don't hate her at all in this season, which is great.
I can't remember her that much from this season.
Because she's a non-problematic person in the season, and it's wonderful to watch. So I hope they keep that track going, because I hated her in season 1.
Jeez, I didn't hate her, but
she was frustrating for sure.
But I definitely think you should check out the trailer for the second half. And have you seen the Adam Eve special?
I haven't. I need to watch that still.
Dude, what do you still? Come on.
I know. It looks good.
I know.
But yeah, no, those are very exciting 4 episodes. And the second half comes out in March. So great time to have watched it.
Yeah. Oh my God. We're going to get Invincible and Shogun in March.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's everything I've watched this week. And with that, that's the end of our show. We want to thank you as always for tuning in and watching and listening to us. If you want to watch and listen to us again in the future, we like to release our podcast on Fridays or Saturdays. And to watch and listen to those, you can follow the links in the description to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Podbean, or to our YouTube channel. If you want to support us on social medias or just in general, we would love a follow, a like, a retweet, not a retweet, subscribe or review, or subscribe, review.
Oh, man. You got it.
I don't.
You got
a like, a comment, a subscribe, a rating, or a review. Boom. There we go. So any of those,
I was very professional.
Thank you. But I fought through it. You
did. I mean, I don't have to say this every week, so
yeah. So you think I would have it down after close to 50 episodes, but I don't.
I think you've actually gotten worse.
It is what it is. You guys get the gist. You guys know the links are in the description, and we appreciate you every week.
We appreciate
for supporting us. Yeah, and with that, Zach saying,
and oh God, what is it that I say?
Come on, what are you joshing me right now?
God, what is it? Is it
okay? He's joshing.
Till next time.
Boom.